Hi everybody, we're going to talk a lot about numbers we haven't dealt with too much up until this point this year. Fractions and decimals come up a lot in Unit 4. And we're going to talk a lot today about multiplying and dividing fractions. If you already remember how to multiply and divide fractions, great, you can skip ahead. But I'll talk a little bit about how to do each of those things with fractions and with decimals in this quick video. Our rule with multiplying fractions is simple. We just multiply across. We multiply across the numerator, multiply across the denominator. We want to make sure our answer is simplified, reduced to lowest terms when we're done. So here's an example. A couple ways we can take care of this. One way is to just multiply straight across, multiply across the numerator. 4 times 3 is 12, and multiply across the denominators. 7 times 18, I believe, is 126. Then what I want to do, though, is make sure that number is reduced to lowest terms. And I eyeball that fraction. I notice both of those numbers are even numbers, which means they're both divisible by 2. So if I divide by 2, divide 12 by 2, I get 6. And if I divide 126 by 2, I get 63. Now I'm going to check both of those numbers out. I happen to know that 3 will go evenly into both of those numbers, so I'm going to divide by 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 63 divided by 2 is 21, and there is my fraction reduced to lowest terms. Another way to do this is to take that 4/7 times 3/18 and simplify those numbers before you multiply. I prefer this way because I can recognize my common factors a little bit easier. So as I look at 4/7 and 3/18, I notice I have an even number in the 4 and an even number in the 18. They don't have to be on top of each other to simplify. They can be anywhere in the numerator or denominator if we're multiplying. So I can say 2 goes into both of those numbers since they're even. 2 goes into 4 twice. 2 goes into 18 9 times. Now I'm not going to stop there. I notice that I have a 3 and a 9. And 3 and 9 are both divisible by 3, so I can do the same thing. 3 goes into 3 once. 3 goes into 9 3 times. Now I've got 2 and 1 in the numerator, 7 and 3 in the denominator, no more like terms, no more common factors, I should say. Multiply across, 2 times 1 is 2, 7 times 3 is 21. So I get the same answer either way. Again, I like this second way better because I recognize my common factors with those smaller numbers a little easier than when the numbers are bigger, but you can do it either way. Suppose we had two mixed numbers, or we could do the same thing if we have a mixed number and an improper mixed number and a common fraction. If we're going to multiply here, what we should do is probably change these into improper fractions first. So just a reminder, we do that by doing 2 times 4 and then adding the 3. So 2 times 4 is 8 plus 3 would be 11 fourths times 3 times 7 is 21 plus 1 is 22 over 7. Now again, I could multiply straight across and then simplify, or I recognize I have an even number here and an even number here. Let me reduce first. 2 goes into each of those. 2 goes into 4 twice. 2 goes into 22 11 times. I can multiply across now. There's no more common factors. That would be 121 over 14. Now you could change that back to a mixed number if you wanted to. Let me do that out. Let's see, 14 goes into 121. As a reminder, it's just a long division. 14 goes into 121, I think 8 times. 8 times 14 is, to carry the 3, 112. And I subtract and I get 9. And I take that 9 and I'm going to put it over that, the thing I'm dividing by. So my answer here would be 8 and 9/14. Okay, so either of those answers acceptable as long as it's reduced to lowest terms. So multiplying fractions, multiply straight across. All right, then how do we multiply decimals? We'll multiply decimals nice and easy. We're going to just write the numbers down. I'm multiplying 234.2 times 1.01. Now, the difference between multiplying decimals and adding decimals, I don't need to line up the decimals when I multiply. I'm just going to multiply, and then I'm going to count my decimal places when I'm done. So I picked two easy numbers to multiply by here. 2 times 1 is 2, 4 times 1 is 4, 3 times 1 is 3, 2 times 1 is 2. I'm going to multiply the next by those zeros, right? But before I do that, I'm going to put a placeholder 0. All of those numbers will be 0. Now I'm going to go to multiply by the 1. I need 2 placeholders because I'm multiplying by the hundreds now. And 2 times 1 is 2, 4 times 1 is 4, 3 times 1 is 3, 2 times 1 is 2. Okay, and I add those up. 2, 4, 5, 6, 3, 2. Now the question is, where does that decimal go? Remember this from elementary school? We have 1, 2, 3 decimals behind, or 3 places behind the decimals. So I'm going to need 3 places behind the decimal in my answer. So 1, 2, 3, my decimal should go there. Another way to think about that is just in terms of what we call magnitude. How big should that number be? This is 234, or a number close to 234, times a number close to 1. So my answer should be pretty close to 234. So around 236, my decimal should go there. So multiplying, don't need to line up the decimals. We need to put the decimal in the right place when we're finished. All right, let's talk for a minute about dividing fractions. Dividing fractions, our rule is, you might have heard in elementary school, copy, switch, flip, keep, change, flip. We've talked about this year. I prefer the phrase multiply by the reciprocal of that second fraction. It's a little more grown up. So what do we do here? We take 4/7. We multiply by the reciprocal of that second fraction. In this case, 3/2. And again, I could multiply straight across. This is now a multiplication problem. Or I could simplify. 2 goes into 4 twice. 2 goes into 2 once. Now I multiply across. That gives me 6/7. Or if I have mixed numbers, change them to improper fractions first. 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 is 3/2, divided by 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10/3. Now I'll multiply by the reciprocal of the second one. So 3/2 times 3/10, and multiply straight across gives me 9/20, and I'm done. Okay, so copy, switch, flip, keep, change, flip, multiply by the reciprocal when dividing fractions. Now let's talk just briefly about dividing fractions. Dividing fractions, we have to deal with these decimals. Keep in mind what division means. When I'm dividing these two things, I'm asking how many times does this little tiny number, 0.0005, fit into 3.00 or 3.04? Fits in a lot. Our answer should be a big number. So what I'm going to do is write this out. 0.0005 goes into 3.04. And that's great, but I'm not going to divide until I have moved those decimals. I want to move the decimal on the outside as many times as I need it to make that outside number a whole number. So I'm going to move it 1, 2, 3, 4 places. Well, if I do that on the outside, I have to do it on the inside too. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I need 2 more zeros here. And now I can divide. Now my division is really 5 goes into 3/0400. All right, now I can just divide. Let's see. 5 does not go into 3. 5 goes into 30 6 times. I'm going to write that 6 right above where that number that I divided into was. 6 times 5 is 30. Subtract, I get 0. I bring down the 4. Now I'm going to say 5 goes into 4 how many times? Well, it doesn't. I don't bring down the 0 now. I say it goes in 0 times. I need to have that placeholder 0 up above. 5 times 0 is 0. Subtract and get 4. Bring down the 0. Now 5 goes into 40 8 times. That's 40. Bring down the 0. I'm not finished yet. I'm not done until I run out of places here, though. So I'm going to bring down another 0. 5 goes into 0 0 times. Now when I subtract, my remainder is 0. And that's my long division. So my answer is 6,080 times. That little 0.0005 fits into 3.04 6,080 times. Okay, so it's all about moving decimals and getting decimal places correct. So here we are back again to our ratio tables. A train is traveling at a constant speed, goes 7.5 kilometers in 6 minutes. At this rate, how far does the train go in 1 minute? So let's start this problem with a table. We've got time and distance. Time is 6 minutes, distance 7.5. How far does the train go in 1 minute? And we're looking for this. I'm going to have you do that division, divide it out, check your answer. And then the next question, how far does it go in 100 minutes? So a little division of decimals here. And then we're going to skip 2, 3. And then go into your book and work on the problems you are assigned. Okay, so quick review today of multiplying, dividing, fractions, and decimals. Bye, guys.